first guest is none other than the CEO of Rugby RFCLA, Pete Sickle, because we need to talk about Antoine Dupont. One of the best players in the world is coming to MLR. He's not playing, but he's part of the ownership group at RFCLA. And for RFCLA, they're also doing pretty well in the MLR this year off the back of a fantastic win on Monday night against Chicago. So, without further ado, let's go and talk to Pete Sickle. Pete Sickle, thank you so much for coming on the show. Fresh off a trip to Chicago, and you're a happy man. What a victory on Monday night against the Hounds. You must be so happy with that.
That was a good night. Yeah, wow, they kept coming at us. You know, I mean, obviously the team that scores more points wins, but I think for us, when we look back on that win, it's going to be defense that really, they were hammering at us blow after blow after blow, and we kept absorbing it. So, you know, credit to the boys. They really stuck together and believed in one another. You know, again, we're picking up yellow cards more than any other team in MLR. So we put ourselves a little bit in the hole, but yeah, they dug in deep, and scoring that try and, you know, past the 80th minute to win was a really special moment. Yeah.
It was a wonderful game to commentate on, and heart in your mouth stuff. And unfortunately, not the right side of the coin for Chicago. But one of those players, by the way, I've got to quickly mention, you're in the West hunt, in the playoffs at the moment, and who knows, it's so tight. It's going to go right down to the wire. But my belief is, so long as Gonzalo Bertrano is fit, at number 9 for you guys, he is superb. Can you just tell me how good he's been for the franchise?
Yeah, look, we were very, very lucky to bring him on board. I would be lying if I said that was in the plan all along, but we're just so excited for what he brings. Not just his skill. I mean, for sure, you know, he's played in the semifinal of the last World Cup against the All Blacks, so he brings knowledge of the game, skill. But it's the leadership and the competitive edge and always wanting to attack. I mean, by now everyone in the league knows that.
Tap and go everywhere.
He likes the quick tap, and they still can't stop it. So, he's an amazing guy that is constantly putting us on the front foot. And but he's one of those guys, you know, as rugby, you know, when that final whistle blows, I mean, there was a little of emotion that came out last night after the win, but, you know, he's just the nicest guy you'd want to meet. So fierce competitor for 80 minutes and just the best guy to have around, you know, all the way through.
Now, you guys are hotting up at the right time of the season, but I want to talk about another number 9. See how I transitioned that perfectly into the big news. Well, I try, Pete. Look, it is honestly such great news, interesting news. I mean, there's probably a lot of questions. You've had these conversations, I'm sure, already. Antoine Dupont joining the ownership group at RFCLA. Let's just kick it off and just say, how did that come about?
Yeah, well, we started a conversation March of 24, so just over a year ago at the LA Sevens. And, you know, this was in his run up to what we now know was Olympic gold.
Yeah, wow.
At the time, it seemed, you know, to a lot of pundits and analysts out there, a mission impossible. But we know now what he can do given the opportunity. So it started just with the conversation there. And I know that, you know, he's obviously an incredible rugby player, but he's a very bright guy, very creative, very inquisitive, always looking to learn. And, you know, he fully leans into the idea that those of us in rugby appreciate how rugby makes connections, connections between people, connections between clubs, between countries. And so, you know, I think his you know, we met him in March of 24, and then he came back after the Olympics and spent time with the Chargers and played touch rugby on the beach with our my old crew, Santa Monica. And so I think, you know, there was an accumulation of ideas and experiences for him and a number of conversations about, you know, where was the game headed? You know, what's the future of the growth of rugby, the growth of MLR, the run up to the LA Olympics in 28, and then, of course, the men's and women's World Cups in 31 and 33. And so, he's one of those guys who, we say in rugby, you play what's in front of you, but he can see sort of several moves ahead. And I think he has that ability, very rare ability, to be in the moment, but also take the long view, look at the big picture. And I think for him then, the opportunity to help build the game that we all love in this very important market, let's face it, is again one of those challenges that I think he's excited about leaning into. He still has a lot of things to accomplish on the pitch as a player, but I think he's very wisely sort of planting seeds for what happens when the playing days are over.
Now, can you explain a little bit about what he's actually going to be? Is he part of the ownership group giving money? Is he going to be more sort of behind the team, helping out? Will we see Antoine Dupont in LA this year behind the side? I'm not saying on the field, but I'm talking about what you envision his role being.
Yeah, no, fair point. As I said, he's got a lot of things to accomplish. He's rehabbing from a pretty nasty injury just a few months ago in Six Nations, so he has a little while to get back into playing fitness. I think in the meantime, he's not going to have a day-to-day role. He's still linked, obviously, with Toulouse, still linked with the French team. He has a lot of things that are part of his life. This is one of them. It's my full-time job. It's not his full-time job. But we definitely want him part of strategic discussions, certainly as we start evaluating our roster from this year and start looking towards next year. Not only playing roster, for that matter, sort of the high performance personnel and structure. How do we prepare? How do we, we're completely excited to hear, his thoughts and draw from his experience. So it's not going to be on a day-to-day level, but he definitely is going to be part of those strategic discussions moving forward. And, certainly in discussions with potential partners, both at the team level and at the MLR league level, we think he brings a lot of value.
What ultimately, though, is the goal of having someone like Antoine Dupont? Because before you answer that, Pete, I think it's fair to say that he is a massive name in the rugby landscape. There's no doubt about that. Maybe, though, in the American sporting landscape, people don't know necessarily about Antoine Dupont. Is there a goal as such that you guys have got within the ownership group as to why it was Antoine you wanted?
Well, sure. I mean, look, on one level, if someone were to tell you you're starting a new professional rugby club and you can have one player in the world ready, go. I mean, I think 9 out of 10 would probably answer Dupont. So again, it's not just for what he does on the pitch, it's for what he stands for. He's as close, we're not really a game of superstars, but there are a few that do change games in a way that make them stand out. Look, I think, and you've been in MLR. I know you've heard the conversations that we hear in our, now in our second year in LA, from people who are already have an affinity with rugby. We still hear, "Oh, I didn't know there was a pro rugby team in market."
Yeah.
People who live in LA, who grew up whatever, South Africa, Australia, France, where, "Oh, I didn't know there was a team." That's a problem. Right. So there's an awareness challenge, a brand recognition challenge. And I think so a big part is just to get people aware. And I think just the last 4 or 5 days, we've probably moved the needle there. And then the other part, though, is to really grow the game. We need to inspire new players, new fans. And I think when you attach the world's best player of anything, you're going to get people excited and inspire people. So, long term, the short term is we want to drive awareness of not only RFCLA, but MLR. Long term, we need to really elevate the excitement and attention and eagerness to come on board for those people who don't know rugby. And so we have people come to the games and say, This is my first rugby game. I don't really understand what's going on, but I loved it and I can't wait to come back. So we think that someone like Antoine will just make it that much easier to attract those new fans, and then hopefully those new boys and girls picking up a rugby ball for the first time.
I love it. No, I really do. And I appreciate your time because I know you've been busy traveling. But I mean, I guess before you leave, though, could we see Antoine Dupont in an RFCLA jersey maybe in the future, in a year, 2 years' time? Is that talked?
Never say never. When the time is right for Antoine, I will be the first to share the good news. But no, again, there's a lot of great rugby that he has to play in France, in Six Nations, in Test rugby, and World Cup coming up in 2027. Who knows what happens after that?
Pete, I really appreciate you coming on the show. Good luck to RFCLA as well, going towards those playoffs. And maybe I should start learning a bit more French now that Antoine Dupont might be around. I'd love to interview him. But Pete Sickle, thanks for joining the show.
All right, thanks so much, Will.